Good morning to everyone and welcome to the session Gaining and Keeping Momentum in Writing. So let me introduce our speaker, Selene Delport, who is the postgraduate workshop coordinator at the Stellenbosch University Writing Lab. She tutored at various departments at the university, and these included the English Literature Department, the Unit for Document Design, and Sci Maths US, a bridging course for post-matric students. And in 2006, she joined the Writing Lab team as a consultant, and since 2009, she's been presenting writing skills workshops for postgraduate students writing their theses and dissertations. And other workshops that Selene has developed for postgraduate students include workshops on plagiarism and writing research proposals and academic articles. Her research interests include African women's writing and postgraduate students' writing experiences. And with this, we'd like to welcome Selene with her presentation on practical writing strategies to help academic writers gain momentum in their writing. Thank you, Selene, and we're looking forward to your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Santi. Thank you very much for including us again in the Writing Skills Workshop. The Library Research Week, my apologies. I'm still waiting for the coffee to kick in. So I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see the PowerPoint, and I'm going to keep it angled to the left so that I can see your comments. If at any point during the session you would like to make a comment, please feel free to do so. You can either type in the chat box, or you can just raise your hand, or if you just want to speak, that's absolutely fine too. I don't mind being interrupted. And I have some practical stuff that we're going to do as well, and some fun, hopefully fun exercises. So let me quickly share my screen. There we go. Let me just get it back to the beginning. Can you all see the screen?
I can see it on my side. Just want to check if everybody can you all see the font correctly?
Yes. Yes, it's a bit small. Okay. Don't worry too much about it. I'll also make the PowerPoint available. I'll send it to Kirchner after the session so that he can distribute it to everyone. Excellent. Okay, and don't worry, the background's not going to look like this the whole time. So what I'd like to start with is an analogy by, I'm going to call him Keith because, well, that's his name, but also I struggle to pronounce his surname. So Keith is a sociologist at Oxford University, and he found that a lot of students have writing blocks, and he tried to figure out what exactly is it, who gets it, how does it work. There was this one particular student who was immensely hardworking. He would attend all the seminars, constantly doing research in the library, just really hardworking, but he wasn't producing anything writing or any writing, but if he wasn't showing it to anyone. So Keith eventually said to him, look, Carl, writing is this little fire you tend, and your goal is to keep it going. Maybe you have to leave it briefly to get a few sticks or a rabbit to cook, but just do that and hurry back before it goes out. You don't want to spend days collecting several cords of firewood or studying the principles of fire building. If you do, each time you come back, you'll have nothing but cold ashes. And I'm sure you might identify with this, is that when you're writing and it's flowing and it's going well, and then when you stop and you take a break that's a bit too long, it's a bit of a struggle to get back into the writing. And Keith's point was that you have to write a little bit constantly to keep that momentum going. Of course, you do have to go and find a rabbit to cook, so you do have to go and do some research. You do have to study a little bit about the principles of fire building. You have to know your methodology that you want to use, but the idea is that you keep writing, you keep that little fire going. Poor Carl's response, though, is, I think I'm the rabbit. So Carl doesn't feel very much like the fire builder. He feels more like the hunted rabbit. Thank you, Dr. Martin. I also love that analogy. So what I'd like you to do, this is going to sound like a weird thing to do, but I'll explain to you why I asked you to do it afterwards. I'd like you to draw a picture. So I'm going to give you a minute or two. It doesn't have to be a masterpiece. Little stickmen are fine. So draw a picture on anything you can find of how you see yourself in relation to your research project right now. So I'll give you a minute or two to draw a picture. How do you see yourself in relation to your research project? Thank you. Dr. Martin loaded her drawing. If anyone can do that as well, that would be great. Dr. Martin, would you like to explain to us what you drew? I love it. Oh, and Mr. Abram as well. Just remember, if you're talking, to unmute your mic. Oh, Miss Trafford's camera isn't working. That's okay. Don't worry about it. Dr. Martin, would you like to explain your picture? Ah, hi. Oh, someone popped in. Oh, Mr. Abram, oh, you're muted. Okay, can you switch on?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
In my picture, I've got all the firewood and everything ready in a heap, but I'm on the side trying to start a fire with a few sticks, because I've done so much research, but I haven't even really started writing at all. Okay. I'm an engineer, so I've just been programming, doing my other stuff on the side.
Yeah, with engineers, everything except writing is fun to do. I completely hear you. So you're still starting the fire, and that's hard work as well. Hopefully today's session will help with that. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thanks.
Oh, Dr. Martin says she hasn't even started the fire yet. She's still chasing rabbits. Are those? I assume it could be your students as well, running after them, trying to get their writing from them. Thank you very much for sharing your pictures. So we've compared Dr. Martin and Mr. Abram's picture. Oh, there's someone. I'm not sure. Okay. Ah, thank you. Yes, that's usually my solution, is holding it up. Oh, you look so sad. You look so sad. So you are sad. Oh, what are the little bubbles? You'll just have to unmute yourself. Oh. Sorry.
So the little bubbles are the I can't, I can, you got this, you're doing this, try again, I can't. And the thing on the side, this part is like a little bolt holding me down, pulling me down. But in the one hand, I've got my paper, like trying to do it.
Okay. So it's your self-talk and then the stuff keeping you from writing. Oh, the stuff that kind of helps you. Yes. Oh, shame. Thank you for sharing that. And then Ms. van der Merwe said just dreaming about it. Yeah. Just dreaming about it. You can think about what your ideal picture would look like. So I assume for Mr. Abram, it would be having a roaring fire going. And for Dr. Martin, getting all the rabbits and keeping them contained. And then maybe Ms. van der Merwe is having the dream a reality. So it's good to think about what your ideal picture would be. But the pictures that you drew now can be very telling about what are the anxieties and fears that you have, and what are the issues that you can look at. What I'd like us to, and you mentioned a few things that keep you from writing, like trying to catch the rabbits, trying to get the fire started. Ms. Horn says a sort of bubble and tangle of threads of excitement for creativity and then threads of anxiety. Is this any good for, or just, that's perfect. It is. This is a very good description. So it's both exciting, but it's also very scary and creates anxiety. So what I'd like us to do, I really hope this exercise works. And then saying scared of the unknown. Yes. Ms. Trafford saying, I can't catch any rabbits because of COVID. I'm qualitative. I'm so sorry to hear that. It is, I hate this pandemic. Miss Scott's picture. Dreaming. Are you also dreaming about it? The project. And I see you sitting next to a desk. You seem very tiny. Oh, sorry, yes.
Yeah, the project is a bit overwhelming, and it sort of does feel like it's all in there. I think being isolated and having to be very much computer-based, and there's sort of like a wall between you and your outcome. That's sort of where my computer's almost like the wall between me and my outcome.
Yes. Yeah. This is a very interesting picture because I can see the overwhelmed feeling because you're so tiny in comparison to this big bubble. And I like your description of the computer being a wall because we're all pretty much stuck behind our computers for a while. Very nice picture. Thank you so much for sharing. So you can see there's lots of stuff that's keeping you from writing. It could be rabbits, trying to start a fire. What I'd like you to do now, I'm going to pop this link into the chat box. I'd like you to click on it and then you can just start writing. I'm going to show you how it works. Copy, paste. You just click on this link and then this, where is it now, should open up. And you just type an answer. So what keeps you from writing? What types of, and then so I'm just going to minimize it slightly and again move it to the side. I'm going to, so you can just start typing. You type and then you click on submit. I'm not sure, Miss Godfrey. We can see your, I don't know, maybe that's something Kirshner can help with. Can the rest of you?
I will make contact with Mr. Godfrey.
Can the rest of you open the link? Oh, perfect. Okay, so just start typing. I'm going to refresh it regularly, and then we can see your comments start appearing as you type it in. Let's hope something starts happening. Ah, lovely. You'll see the word, it's going to form a little word cloud, so we can see the things that a lot of people are typing the same thing come up. Okay, so we have procrastination seems to be a massive one. Feeling overwhelmed, avoidance, your methods haven't been verified, demotivated, competing interests, imposter syndrome and feeling like you don't know enough, lack of confidence, too much to write, not having read enough, mostly myself. Oh, wow. Time management, fear of starting, balance of life and work. Fear, overthinking is starting to, lack of structure, become more prominent. Anxiety, self-doubt, fear of failure. Slow reader, lack of clarity, feeling not good enough. Oh wow, this is filling up a lot. Perfectionism, also starting to come out. You can keep adding stuff. I will send this to, I'll share this, I'll send this as an email, or I'll also, so that you can check the, oh wow, becoming. We see that things like overthinking, imposter syndrome, competing interest, uncertainty, overwhelmed, procrastination seems a big one. No data due to COVID, feeling overwhelmed, mental health. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. I'm going to just minimize it, and you'll see that the anxieties that you mentioned, or the reasons for not writing, actually is in line with what a lot of other people have said as well. You mentioned the avoidance and fear, maybe scared of getting feedback, avoidance because you're not sure how to start. A good reason not to write is gestation or incubation. It's when you've read a lot and the ideas are incubating in your head, and it's getting ready, and then you start writing. But it's sometimes really difficult to tell the difference between incubation and productive procrastination. Productive procrastination is procrastination on steroids, and I'm sure you all recognize it. Normal procrastination is when, for me, it's every time I have to write. I hate cleaning. I absolutely hate it. I like having a clean place, but I hate doing it. But every time I have to write, I suddenly go, ugh, this is really dusty. I probably need to dust, and it's not dusty. So I'm sure you identify with that. Productive procrastination is where you trick your mind into thinking you're being very productive. You spent the entire day reading articles. You spent the entire day drawing up charts and stuff to put your data in, but you haven't spent any time writing. That's productive procrastination. So you're actually busy with your research. You know you should be writing, but you're doing something else. You mentioned perfectionism. I identify with that, and I'm not sure how to solve that one. But what helps me is to remember there's a quote by Henry James who says, excellence does not require perfection. And I keep reminding myself that something doesn't have to be perfect to be good. And there's a secret I should tell you. There is no such thing. There's no such thing as a perfect text. Doesn't exist. You'll see with the articles that you read, even the ones that you really like and you think are extremely well written, that even there's stuff that can be improved or changed. Perfect. Now I see perfect with the examples that you mentioned. The incubation period can last too long. Making folders to file away those articles, yes. Color coding them, yeah, I recognize that. Or tidying my desk when I did I'll tell you about that now, I'm jumping the gun. Yes, I love that, Ms. Trafford, the idea of being good enough rather than perfect, and you're all good enough. A lot of you mentioned imposter syndrome and not feeling good enough. I find it fascinating. I used to teach English literature to first-year students, and I can tell you there's no one smarter in this world than a first-year student. They know everything, smartest people in the world. Then I started working with postgraduates, and all of you already have at least one degree and a wealth of experience, but oftentimes postgraduates would say, I don't know enough. I know nothing about this topic, which isn't really true. You know a lot. You have at least one degree. You have maybe a lot of work experience and other experience that's useful. But you do know a lot more than you probably think you do. Sometimes people wait for the right time, and the right time just never happens. We have to make time. So you think, I'm just going to answer these 5 emails and then I'll start writing. And the 5 emails got babies, and now there's 15 emails, so you have to answer those as well. And it becomes a whole chain in a discussion, and the right time never happens. Or people think of writing as this mystical process where you wait for inspiration and it magically appears. There's this muse that inspires you. The muse is like the tooth fairy. She doesn't exist. On the other hand, P.G. Wodehouse said that he only writes when he's inspired, but he makes sure that at 10 o'clock every morning, he's inspired. So you can do things to help get you inspired, whether it's maybe putting on your favorite music in the background, or I have a friend who hypes herself up. She tells herself she is the best writer in the world. She's just excellent. And she tells herself that, and then she starts writing. So you can do something to inspire yourself. And then thinking about writing as a product instead of a process can also hamper progress in writing. Because if you think about writing as a product, you think you're going to sit down, write, and it's going to be done. And that if it's not good or not perfect the very first time, then you're going to that you're doing something wrong, that there's something wrong with you. It's perfectly okay to write terrible first drafts. Most first drafts are really horrible. It's part of the process of writing and rewriting and rewriting. I think it was also P.G. Wodehouse who said that there's no such thing as great writing, only great rewriting. Dr. Martin suggested a book. Oh, lovely. The War of Art, Break Through the Blocks and Win Your Inner Creative Battles. Very nice. There's another book. I'm going to look for the title and put it in the chat box. Julia Cameron wrote the book. The Artist's Way. I think that's what it's called. Okay. The other problem with thinking about writing as a product instead of a process, you don't really critically think about your own process and think, okay, what should I do to help develop my process? What am I doing that already works? What do I need to change that's not working for me? So what I'd like you to do now, I'm going to switch off my camera and I'm going to switch off my sound. and I'm going to give you 10 minutes. I'll set my timer. And what I'd like you to do is write about how you write. You can do it on the laptop or you can do it on a piece of paper. It often works best if you do it by hand. Just be careful your hand, don't write too fast because your hand then cramps up. The only rule is you have to keep writing. You can't stop during the 10 minutes. You can't, I know that's torture. You can't plan, you can't edit. You just have to write nonstop for 10 minutes about how you write, and can be anything. Any habits you have to help you get writing. I had a student in one of the workshops who, she doesn't like coffee, but the smell of coffee makes her want to write. So she'll make herself a cup of coffee and will stand on her desk and she'll write, and then when the coffee gets cold, she'll throw that out and make another cup of coffee. So even if it's a really weird habit that you have, mine was organizing everything on my desk, but I'll tell you about that afterwards. So I'm gonna keep this up. I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to switch off my camera, and then you'll have 10 minutes to write about how you write. Okay, and you can finish the sentence that you're busy with. So how did it feel to write this way? Yeah, you can either, oh, sorry. If you want to respond, you can either type in the chat box, or you can raise your hand, or you can just speak, that's fine. So how did it feel to write like this? 10 minutes non-stop. Ms. van der Merwe says very relaxed, and Ms. van Sail as well. Free writing is liberating, yes. The exercise is called free writing. Oh, wow. And Camilla says she hasn't written full sentences and paragraphs since university days. And Ms. Saluba said productive. Ms. Scott says it was fine because there was no pressure to create a product. Okay. And yes, it comes from the artist way, Ms. Trafford. She has some experience with the artist way, so this felt quite interesting. Yeah, and more comes up than you thought of. And, hi, Garth. Garth find it difficult to do. He kept going back to correct, and pausing to think, yes. It's sometimes difficult to not do that. And Ms. Libete said she was surprised how much she could write. Allows the ideas to flow. It looks like a journal. And Ms. Godfrey says it brings a lot of clarity. And then Ms. Van Salt said she felt confident to apply this when writing for academic purposes. Yeah, and it felt good for Mrs. Rabonda because the ideas started flowing freely. It felt good to write this long again. Oh, very nice. You got ideas that have been in your head put down on paper. Good. And challenging, but in a good way. Excellent. So you can keep those coming. Would anyone like to, you don't have to read to us what you've written. This is low stakes writing. You're not going to share this with anyone. Oh, shame. Dr. Martin says her handwriting is so bad that her internal critic gives up on editing on the fly. Yeah, my handwriting is terrible as well. I write it and then I go, I have no idea what that word is. I can't even read my own. Okay, Garth says he should perhaps do this kind of exercise by writing, not typing, to stop himself correcting and also slow the process. Yes, it works better if you do it by hand. Because if you do it on the computer, those squiggles are annoying. A suggestion another participant in a different workshop made was that if you type, to make the letters white. Oh, wow, Dr. Martin. Yes, I can see what you mean. Yes, what you mean by handwriting. Mine's the same. And half of it is in cursive and the other half not. It's just not good. What did I want to say about? Oh yes, if you do it on a computer or on the laptop, you can make the letters white so that you don't see what you're typing, and you switch off the spell check. And you just type. The problem is if you switch the letters back to black, some of it might be complete gobbledygook because you touch the wrong letters. But you can try it if you're really good at typing. You can try doing that. And Ms. Van Zyl, you go into super editing mode. Me as well. Yes, and writing also feels more natural. It's interesting. There's a lot of research about how writing by hand actually helps dislodge writing blocks better and helps you to write in a more reflective, insightful way than if you write on the computer. So someone said, Ms. Trafford, that you're happy to share something from what you wrote, if it's useful. Yes, definitely. Could you tell us what your process is? Ms. Trafford, I'm not sure where she is now.
Hi, sorry, would you mind repeating what you just, sorry, I pulled out my earphones and then I couldn't hear what your request was.
Well, you said that you're happy to share something from what you wrote. That's lovely. Could you tell us what's your process and if there's anything you'd like to change, maybe?
Sure. I think the one aspect that's difficult for me is that I get quite so I don't really struggle with the process itself of writing. I'm a fairly confident writer and quite comfortable with it. But then what I end up doing is a lot of the productive procrastination you mentioned. I get very involved in helping other people with their writing and doing a lot of editing work because it's much easier. So what I have tried, my previous boss was very helpful in encouraging me, what I was saying before about the good enough thing, encouraging me to just start writing kind of in the way that you've just advised now, a sort of free flow, because it's very difficult to, I used to get very hung up on perfect sentences and well-expressed ideas, and it's very difficult to get there in your own head. Even if you are a good thinker or an analytical thinker, it's difficult to mold things until there's a piece of clay in front of you. So that was useful for me. And process-wise, I also have realized that I find it easier to write with a structure. So even if I make a structure up and give myself little headings or kind of think, okay, I'm going to, go deep on methodology today or something like that and just try and lay it all out, I have found that to be pretty useful. But often I find myself having to discipline myself, like almost like a toddler, really pull myself back in from many distractions. So one thing I do is turn my phone off. That helps a lot, and try and not check my emails when I'm trying to write and things like that. But I also find that sometimes then it's not the right time. So
Okay.
I agree that there's not a perfect time, but sometimes even when I've done all of those distraction limiting things, I sit and there's not a huge amount coming and then I need to step away again. So I think it's just constantly iterating.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. Is there anyone else who would like to share their process and things they would like to change or things that work for them? God says he's found virtual writing or reading rooms a great help. Very nice. God, do you want to maybe tell us a little bit more about that?
Oh, yeah, thank you. I became aware via Twitter of the PhD Forum, which is the global writing room run from the UK. And it kind of works almost like a buddy system. So if you've ever been to gym, you have to do the exercise, and it just helps if you have a buddy that's expecting you to be there. So it sort of works like a virtual library. So some people leave their cameras on during the writing room, so you kind of see people are also working next to you, which has helped in the lockdown situation. So. This sort of replaces the physical writing rooms that people have set up in the past. So it kind of just automatically deals with the procrastination factor because you schedule something and you just get on and do it. There's also another writing group which I haven't joined it, which is called Shut Up and Write, which is run from within the university. I just find it very helpful because it just shortcuts the procrastination monkey. If you've seen that video of procrastination, the TED one. So yeah, it's been very helpful.
Oh, very nice. Thank you for sharing that, Garth. Now, there's lovely writing communities out there. I'll tell you more about the Shut Up and Write. I haven't seen that video, but so I'm just going to put here as a the procrastination. Wait, now that I mentioned it, I have seen it. Yes, procrastination monkey. And thank you, Ms. van der Merwe. She says that when she has productive procrastination, it really helps to book a meeting with your fave consultant at the writing lab and chat with her. That is time well spent. She's motivational, encouraging, and helpful. I'm so glad to hear that. I'll tell you about the consultations as well just now. So there are writing communities that you can access. I didn't know about the PhD forum. That's a lovely idea. And having said that, every writer is different. So what works for one writer isn't going to work for every writer. Like Garth said, he found it really difficult to do this free writing without planning and editing. But if you do ever get stuck with your own writing, you can fall back on this free writing. You don't have to do it just with something as simple as how do you write. If there's a topic that you're finding difficult or irritating or you're stuck with it, just write 10 minutes, whatever comes up. It doesn't matter if you think it's utter nonsense, that's absolutely okay. Because oftentimes when we write like this, some gems come out. Or, now I forgot Robert Boyce found in his research that if people write nonstop for 10 minutes about the topic that's tripping them up, they identify within the 10 minutes, identify the problem and they self-solve it. So that was like, oh, okay. And if it doesn't work for you, you try other stuff. I have a host of tips here. I'm not going to go through all the slides, but I'll make all of them. Oh, thank you, Garth. He put the site to that virtual writing room up there. I'm going to wait. Where is it? Okay, so you're not alone. There are the writing consultations that I mentioned and writing groups, like the Shut Up and Write writing group run by the PGO. You have the sorry. Like the PhD forum that I just found out about. One of you mentioned the Thesis Whisperer. There is lovely blogs. I'll type them in the comment boxes just now. There's I think 3 that I follow. The Thesis Whisperer, and then there's one called Patterson, and there's one called Doctoral Writing. Those are my 3 favorite blogs, and they give really useful tips on how to write. Yes, Thesis Whisperer is also my favorite, and I like Patterson as well. She's just awesome. So there's these blogs where you get really useful tips and resources. Oh, there's a Research Whisperer as well. I should follow them too. I will post the other blogs. I'll get their links and I'll put them in the comment box just now. What's nice about, although you have to do your own writing, you're not completely alone. There is support out there. And what's really nice about the writing consultations and becoming part of writing groups, when you share your writing, you might have noticed it's much easier, like I forgot the surname, but like the first person who shared what she said about it's much easier to do editing or help other people with their writing. The moment, thank you for the links. I didn't know about PhD in 100 steps. This is wonderful. I'm learning more than you are. Thank you for all the links. What's nice about sharing your work with other people is they have fresh eyes. So the same way that it's easier for you to help someone else with their writing, it's easier for someone else to help you with your writing instead of helping ourselves. So it's very nice to get fresh eyes on your writing. And with writing consultations and writing groups, it's it's a supportive environment. It's non-judgmental, non-evaluative. It's there to support and help you grow as a writer. And it's part of capacity development. So, for example, Garth could be really good at the internal flow of his ideas, creating this golden thread, but his titles are rather dull and don't really say anything. I'm not saying that's true. That's what it is. I'm just using as an example. And then Santi's titles are just spectacular. They're informative, they're engaging, they grab the reader's interest, but she struggles a bit with creating flow. Again, I'm just using as an example. So then Garth could explain to Santi how he makes really good paragraphs, and Santi can explain to Garth how she creates excellent titles. So it helps with capacity development. Some other tricks to help get you going: jump in, and that's probably the most difficult one. But the one that I think it was Mr. Azam who mentions that the thesis whisperer says, start where you feel most confident, start where you have something. Because not only are you then practicing your writing skills, but you're also what did I want to say? You're also building. You're building your confidence as well, because you're writing with something that you're familiar with, that you feel more comfortable with, and it helps you to prepare for the more difficult bits. You can also decide to set writing times, and don't think it has to be a massive chunk of time. If you can develop a writing plan. So if you only have 10 minutes available on Monday, don't think, 10 minutes, that's not a lot. You saw how much you wrote in that 10 minutes. Use that 10 minutes. It's still 10 minutes more writing than you had, than if you didn't use that 10 minutes at all. And then the next day you might have a half an hour. And be religious about that writing times. Book it out as if it's a meeting that you have to attend, a very important meeting. Or if you don't like setting writing times, decide to write a certain amount of words every day. Doesn't have to be say for argument's sake, the perfect 100 words, just 100 words, because later you can go back and you can polish that. And you can also set deadlines and keep to them. So if you know that you're especially deadline driven, you can set deadlines for yourself with little goals in between. Don't keep the deadlines to yourself, because then you keep postponing. So share it with, like a gym buddy on the PhD forum. They expect you to show up, or you can book a consultation, and you have to show the consultant something, and you can't show them the same thing every week. And then that helps to keep the momentum going as well. Sorry, I just saw a comment here that I'd like to respond to. Dr. Martin says that her lab group has just resolved to have a monthly writing retreat, but you've yet to establish the details of how, but I think it will be good. It will be excellent. We started doing the same in the Language Center, and it's working really well. So we have, if you have difficulty setting that up, you can just contact me and we can help you with that. If you have a writing group, all of you have ownership in this group, and you then can decide what works best for you. How do you want to schedule the time? What do you want to do in that time, etc. So if you need any help with that, you're welcome to contact us for that. You could also decide to write for 10 minutes. Just write nonstop for 10 minutes and see what comes up. I had a plant pathology student who, if she had a fight with a friend, great, excellent, Dr. Martin. I look forward to hearing from you. I had a plant pathology student who, if she had a fight with a friend, she'll find it really difficult to write or to work on her own thesis. And she would then just write nonstop for 10 minutes about this fight until she's dealt with it in writing. And then she can start, and then usually just kind of organically, everything will flow from her writing about the fight with her friend to then starting to write about her topic. You can also break your task into small pieces. I noticed a lot of you felt overwhelmed, and that you think it's a massive amount of writing, but it helps, like some of you said, to have an outline, just a rough table of contents. Even if it's an article, just have headings and subheadings, and you only focus on a small section at a time. You don't have to write the entire thing in one go. So you only write what you have on section 2.1. Once you're done with that, you write a bit on section 4.5. Done with that, you write a section on 1.2. And once you've written the small pieces, you sew them together, and magically you end up with 100 pages. You can also develop, you can also develop a writing plan. So where you decide this is what you're going to do each day. I used the developing of a writing plan to procrastinate. So I drew up a writing plan on paper first, and then the next day I put it in an Excel sheet. The next day I color coded everything in the Excel sheet, and by the end of the week I haven't done any writing, but I had a beautiful looking writing plan, and I realized I was using it to procrastinate. So now I write my writing plans on a little piece of scrap paper, because it's also, they're not set in stone, and I don't freak out if I miss, say for example, a sudden deadline popped up, and I have to pay attention to that first, so I couldn't do what I set out to do that day. I don't freak out because it's just a scrap piece of paper. I can scratch it out, redo the writing plan. It's like a training plan for a marathon. If you injure yourself and you have to take off 2 weeks from running, it doesn't mean you can't go and run the marathon. It just means you have to adapt your training plan. So it's the same with the writing. Garth says yes, recommends you write a crappy first draft at the top. I can't remember the author, and excuse my language, but this is what the author said. I'm trying to think if it was, I think it was an academic writer. At the top of each page, he would write this is all shit, to give himself permission to just write absolute nonsense. In Keith's book about writing blogs, one of the students felt that he wasn't good enough to write on a clean sheet of paper. So he'll crumple up the paper so that it looks messy, as if he's just taken it out of the dustbin, and he'll write on that, and that helped him write. And he got better and better at it. Later, he would only make a small dot at the bottom of the page, and then the page wouldn't be perfect anymore. There would be a smudge. So it's okay for him to write a crappy first draft on it. So absolutely that's one way to get away from perfectionism. And as much as we like to believe that we're intrinsically motivated to write, that's just not true. Even if you really enjoy writing, it's sometimes hard work where you have to force yourself to write. So promise yourself a reward for making progress. If you haven't written anything in a while, and today you wrote a paragraph, give yourself a cookie or two. Or I have coloring in books. So promise yourself, if I finish this, I can color in for, say, 10 minutes. Or if I got this chunk of work done, I can watch an episode from my favorite series. An episode, don't binge watch the series. I fall into that trap every time. So just a last tip. This is a quote by Margaret Atwood, and she's an immensely prolific writer. She would, since 1966, she has published at least one book every year. And in an interview, they asked her, what advice does she have for overcoming writer's block? And her advice was, don't sit down in the middle of the woods. If you're lost in the plot or blocked, retrace your steps to where you went wrong. Then take the other road, or change the person, change the tense, change the opening page. So you can do that for yourself as well. Don't stop. Try different things. Obviously, you can't change the person or the tense. There are rules, well, not rules, but there's conventions in academic writing. But you can go back to where things went wrong and rewrite from there. Or try to see how far can you get if you write a counter argument to what you've been saying. I realize it's 11 o'clock, so if people have to leave, I completely understand. Or it could be a physical change. If you've been typing on the laptop all day, try writing by hand. Or if you've been sitting inside all day working, maybe go and sit inside, maybe go and sit outside. So keep trying different things and making changes until something works. I'm just quickly going to, but I'll make these slides available. So here are, this is one of those virtual writing groups. You can just, we're on WhatsApp, and you can ask Alison to join and ask her how it works, and she'll tell you. The Shut Up and Write group. Here's my contact details if you need any information about our workshops, and if you want a one-to-one consultation, then you can contact Anna Marie. We are currently only doing the consultations and the workshops virtually. So, and we're doing it on MS Teams, and the consultations are also on Skype. The consultations are free for all staff and students, and you're welcome to make use of that. I now rushed through the last bit. Are there any other questions or comments before we say goodbye to each other? So it's been absolutely lovely. Thank you for the beautiful messages. It's been absolutely loving. It's been absolutely lovely seeing all of you here. All the best with your writing. I hope it goes really, really well. And we're there for you. Oh, I see Ms. van Wyk's hand up. Yes, Ms. van Wyk.
Hi, sorry about that. Sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay.
Up the last slide.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll quickly add that contact details. I'm going to pop it in the comment box as well. Copy. I can reach the comment box. Oh. I'm going to, and then Mrs. Dwarahenda, yes.
Hello, thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. Would you also please put up the second last slide?
The second last slide. I'll quickly do that. Oops, there we go. There we go. Is it this one?
Just to mention, I will send out the slides that Selene has set up afterwards, and I'll send it to all participants.
Oh, thank you so much, Irfan. Sorry. Oh, Ms. Bolton asks, if we are not currently working on anything in particular, what do you recommend to keep our writing brains sharp? Just to write a little bit every day. It's useful to just keep writing, even if it's just keeping a journal, or if it is what I'm currently doing is I'm just after every workshop, I have a book that I write a reflection, because I mean, this is new for us teaching online. It's something I've wanted to develop for a while, and now we're forced to, which is great. So I just write a reflection about how the session went. And yeah, you can keep a journal as well. You can also keep reading academic articles, because reading also helps with writing when you see what other people are doing, and write what you think about the article. So just keep writing.
All right, I think we can conclude the session just in preparation for the next one. Santi, would you like to say a word of thanks, or can I?
Yeah, you can also, Kirchner. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Selene, for this session. It was really something different from the ones we've had previously, and I think the participants all really enjoyed it. It was greatly interactive, and yeah, we look forward to seeing another session of you, maybe even next year again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for having me again. I appreciate it.